Hello and welcome to the Commander's Quarters, your Magic the Gathering source that helps you command your budget. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all their support. Hey everyone, Mitch coming in from the Commander's Quarters studio. Welcome to the show. Welcome back to probably yet another day of multiple episodes with really exciting Commander Legends spoilers. Obviously, I can't predict the future, so I don't know what the future spoilers are going to be for today, but the hits just keep coming and we keep getting really cool commanders, and this episode is no exception. This commander is doing something that we haven't ever seen on a commander, and something that we haven't really seen in Magic in a very long time. So let's just jump into it and talk about it. So Yurlok of the Burn-Thrash, and actually I want to note that Burn-Thrash, that part of the kind of name, there's some debate as to how that's exactly translated, so my apologies if that's not the exact translation. That's just the best that I have right now. Yurlok of the Burn-Thrash is a legendary creature, Viashino Shaman, for 4/4 for 1 black, red, green. It has Vigilance, and whenever a player loses unspent mana, they lose that much life. Pay 1 and tap it. Each player adds black, red, green. So that part in the middle, whenever a player loses unspent mana, they lose that much life. That's mana burn. It's not actually kind of identified as mana burn, just say that basically mana burn is now a thing again. Mana burn, for those of you that haven't played Magic or didn't play Magic, I'm not even sure when exactly they got rid of mana burn. I remember when I was a kid playing, though, mana burn was definitely a thing. Basically, if you don't spend your mana when steps and phases end, if you lose it, then you actually take damage based on the amount of mana that you had in your mana pool. That kind of is basically the concept of mana burn. At a certain point, they got rid of that, so things like, I think Braid of Fire is a card basically that was kind of like, it doesn't make sense in the current context because it just generates more and more mana for you each turn. But kind of back when mana burn was actually a thing, that card definitely made sense because if you didn't spend that mana, you got burned, essentially. So, and it's kind of interesting that burn isn't exactly, it's not damage. Burn is usually damage, but that regardless, life loss makes a lot more sense because damage can usually be prevented. Regardless, this is a really exciting concept on a commander, kind of re-implementing mana burn as an actual thing, and then also having the ability to pay 1 and tap it to give each player 3 mana. Now, you can obviously use that mana for yourself. You can use it in a potentially political way as well. If, maybe one of your opponents needs to cast a certain spell, and it's going to benefit you, then you can say, okay, I'll chip in some mana. I'll give you some of that mana to use for your spell. And, you can kind of utilize that as long as it's helping me. So there is kind of that potential political way to go about this commander. I don't think that that's the direction that I would personally take it. I'd probably more so take it in a group slug direction, looking to kind of force players to kind of use their mana in ways that they don't necessarily want to, or kind of get punished again by that mana burn. So kind of more so, yeah, giving them that mana and kind of not allowing them to use it, or making it not very easy for them to use it. And keep in mind that, that 3 mana that you are giving them, if they've got instants in their hands, there is the potential for them using it. So you want ways to kind of not really allow that to happen. So let's go through some cards that can help out with that. So like Citadel Pain is one. It's an enchantment that says at the end of each player's turn, Citadel Pain deals X damage to that player, where X is the number of untapped lands they control. So this basically says, okay, you're either going to take mana, or you're either going to take damage from mana burn, or you're going to take damage from this, essentially. So either use all your mana on your turn, or you're going to be taking damage. So if you don't have, the spells or, abilities to activate to actually utilize all that mana, you're going to be taking damage one way or the other. Because if you just tap the land for mana and then don't use it, you're going to be mana burning, which is great. And if not, Citadel Pain is going to punish you regardless. So again, this is another way to actually tap someone out, essentially. And then if they don't, have a way to utilize that 3 mana that you're giving them, on your turn, they're also going to be taking mana burn from that as well. Another card that can help with this is Tectonic Instability. It's an enchantment that says whenever a land comes into play, tap all lands its player controls. Kind of in a similar way, again, basically, use it or lose it. If they put a land into play, they have to tap all their lands, so they're just going to have to tap it for all their lands for mana, essentially, and then utilize all that mana at once. And again, if they don't have kind of the right spells in their hand or right abilities to activate to actually utilize all that mana, they're going to be taking mana burn, and then they're going to be tapped out on your turn. And again, if they can't utilize that 3 mana you're giving them, that's better for you. Another card that's kind of similar is War's Toll. It says whenever an opponent taps a land for mana, tap all lands that player controls. If a creature an opponent controls attacks, all creatures that opponent controls attacks if able. This hurts them in multiple ways. Again, the one that we're going to focus on is that first one, essentially saying, hey, if you're going to tap a land, you've got to tap all your lands. So again, you have to utilize that mana that you have, or you're going to be taking mana burn. Again, there seems to be a pattern with these cards, and this next one is going to be continuing that pattern as well in some way. Price of Glory is an enchantment that says whenever a player taps a land for mana during another player's turn, destroy that land. So I think for the most part, you're going to be utilizing your commander's tap ability on your turn to kind of give you extra mana to use, and then also to make it harder again for your opponents to utilize that mana on your turn. If they don't have an instant that they can utilize it with, they're going to be punished for that. And then also Price of Glory says, hey, you know what? You may even have an instant in your hand, but let's say you're playing against a blue deck, they're probably going to need some blue mana to actually cast that spell. So if they want to cast that spell on your turn, they're going to have to sacrifice some lands to do so, essentially. So Price of Glory kind of is another kind of punch to the gut with this kind of a deck, a group slug deck, where you're like, hey, you know what? I'm going to give you stuff to do on my turn, potentially, but if you do, there's a consequence for it. And again, there's pretty much always a consequence with these kind of group slug strategies. Another way to do this is just with a card like City of Solitude. And my apologies, actually, I think I should mention that Price of Glory, I think, is getting up there a little bit in price. I think it's still under $10, and City of Solitude, I think, is similar as well. Again, if you want to stretch your budget a little bit, these are both good options. It's an enchantment that says each player may play spells and abilities only during their turn. So yeah, this essentially says, hey, even if you had something that you could have done on my turn, if I'm activating my commander and giving you 3 mana, you're not going to be able to utilize that mana. And again, 3 mana may not, or 3 mana, it is 3 mana, but 3 mana burn, 3 damage each turn, 3 life loss each turn, I should say. Doesn't seem like that much, but I mean, that's 9 total with all 3 of your opponents, and there's other ways to kind of make that even more on a turn. Again, green has plenty of ways to kind of give you even more mana out of your commander, like a Ley Line of Abundance. It's it's one of those ley lines, so basically, if it's in your starting hand, you basically just get onto the battlefield for free. And then it says whenever you tap a creature for mana, add an additional green, and then you can pay 6 green and put a ++1 counter each creature you control. Obviously, the part that we're going to focus on is that middle part. Whenever you tap a creature for mana, add an additional green. So basically, you're now putting 4 mana into everyone's pool, and you're basically, essentially, instead of generating 2 mana for yourself, you're generating 3, which is even better. And this kind of comes in with another card that essentially generates an infinite combo with Sword of the Parents. Basically, it's an equipment, and the important part of this is pay 3, you may tap or untap equipped creature. So normally, again, your commander essentially is netting you 2 mana, but if you've got that Ley Line in play, it's going to be netting you 3. So you can essentially just infinitely tap and untap your commander. You can generate infinite mana for your opponents, which generally would seem like a bad thing, but in this scenario, again, if they don't have an X-Spell instant in their hand, then they're going to lose because of mana burn. If they do have that X-Spell instant in their hand, then you're in trouble. Because, if they have got that Comet Storm, then you're just dead. But that's okay. It's not really that big of a deal. It's kind of funny when that happens. Not that big of a deal. I guess it is a big deal. But, it's just kind of, an interesting kind of way to kind of say, okay, you know what? I'm giving you all this resource. I'm giving you infinite mana is a great thing, right? Everyone gets infinite mana, except for me even. And then they lose because of that. So that's why mana burn can be kind of a fun thing to kind of bring back into a game of Commander. And that's why this Commander is really interesting. And I like this unique take. Next up, though, we've got Instill Energy, which basically is an aura, and I apologize, I've got the old rules text up here, but basically, enchanted creature has haste, and then you can pay 0 and untap enchanted creature, but you can only use this ability once each turn. So basically, you can, utilize your commander twice in a turn instead of once, and that untap is free. There are other effects that, you have to pay to untap, but again, your commander is generating you mana, so you basically can do that, and you're just basically trying to give your opponents more and more mana. You don't necessarily care about generating, infinite mana for yourself or whatnot with this kind of a deck. You're just trying to generate more and more mana for your opponents that they essentially can't use and then burn them for it. Another one is like a Mage Right Stone, which has pay 1 and tap it to untap target creature that has an activate ability with tap in its cost. So essentially, you are actually generating more mana with this, again, with your commander. Your commander generates you 2. You use 1 of that, you untap your commander, and then you tap it again. So basically, your commander gets 3. And again, this is another way to basically now give all your opponents 6 mana in a turn. And that's 18 damage total, or 18 life loss. That's a good amount. And again, the more and more of these kind of untap effects that you have, the more and more of that life loss that you're dishing out to your opponents each turn. And then Seeker of Skybreak's another simple one, just has tap untap target creature. So another one that basically kind of is netting you even more mana. Basically, you're netting yourself 4 mana instead of too. But basically, the more and more of these effects that you have, the better. There are also some kind of one-shot effects as well that can help. Again, if you've got like a Seeker of Skybreak in play with your commander, and you cast a Vitalize, which untaps all creatures you control for just a green, even better. Again, you probably want more of those kind of repeatable effects so that you can continuously do this kind of over and over again throughout a turn. The more effects that you have to untap your commander, the better. And again, those kind of one-shot effects can be effective, but again, you might want to make sure that you're balancing that with kind of those kind of enchantments and other pieces as well. So again, this commander, Yurlok, however, the actual name comes out at the end. Right now, it's Yurlok of the Burn-Thrash. Could be something else. I've seen some things about Yurlok of the Rose Burn or something. But basically, whatever Yurlok's name is, I really like this concept, bringing Mana Burn back. Again, for those of you who haven't played with Mana Burn, it is a pretty fun thing for some. But yeah, that's my take on Yurlok. So now it's my turn to hear from you. What are your thoughts on this commander? What are your thoughts about Mana Burn coming back? So let me know in the comments below. And as always, thanks again and have a good one.